So, through my lifting career, I've had many strength coaches who have been a huge asset to helping me get stronger. And absolutely none of them have coached me in person. Um, that's the reality of it. A strength coach is not a personal trainer. They provide programming weekly. Now, a program is a plan that you're going to put into reality. So a lot of that means that the strength coach is going to recommend something. Sets, reps, intensity, exercise, and you're going to then fill in what you did. So then the next week adjustments can be made. This is going to allow for independence because you're not confined to a personal trainer where you have someone who's just trying to fill in an hour or a time slot as just to fill in the time slot, basically. You know, sometimes it takes longer when it's harder, and your whole plan is based around time and money and someone else's schedule. And there's conflictions in that because true programming needs to be very consistent to make proper gains. You should be doing the same thing on the same days, right? You know, you need to have a schedule put in place. But when you're confined to an hour and maybe the same time isn't always going to work. I train at the same time, but not all the time do I train at the same time because that's life, right? And this just allows for much more independence to use your time more effectively, right? Because you're using your time more effectively, you can train more and you can train harder. You can take longer rests. Somebody is not like, look, we need to get through this so we can get through this hour. You know, you can take your time. You can train for over 2 hours. You can train much more throughout the week at a much lower expense to you for somebody helping you because they don't have to sit there and be there the whole time. Right? If you want personal training, don't email this. If you want a strength coach, go ahead and email me. mangabe1900 at gmail.com. mangabe1900 at gmail.com. Right? And I want to get a little bit more into what programming is. Right? So when you get a program, it's going to be the week that you're training. Right? So you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Or it could be laid out day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. And these days are going to stay the same. So then you're going to have a certain plan for that day. And depending on the type of periodization being used, and that's going to be dependent on your goals and where you're at your training, is how you're going to progress through that, okay? Because in the end, we're trying to make gains. And, well, with some people, I've done 4-week style blocks where we're going, like a week A, a week B, a week C, and then a deload or reload week. Other people, it's been more flow, and they've been able to figure out where I'm at better to make the blocks last longer. But part of making a block last longer is being much more conservative and starting off lower in the block so you can progress longer through the block. You know, at a certain point, what happens when you just keep pushing is you can't just keep pushing. And especially when there isn't much variables into play. Right? You can't just keep, I'm going to 1 rep max every week and it's going to go up every week. Eventually, you're going to be just tired, or if fatigue sets in, and you're not going to, 1 week you might feel amazing, and then the next week you're not going to feel as good. And part of what a strength coach is doing is controlling that, so that there's control to your progress, especially if you have a competition that you want to do. You need to control the variables. You can't just have random fatigue pile in to your training. You need to have controlled fatigue. And sometimes that's going to come from rotation, variation. It's going to come from changing the rep scheme, backing off the volume as you progress through the block. You're going to start a block off with maybe with less volume and progress to lower volume. Or you could start off with less volume and progress to more volume. It depends on how you're trying to make gains and for what. But a strength coach is going to be there to do the planning for you, so you can just lift. So much energy sometimes is spent on planning. And if you don't have a true understanding of what's going on, planning is going to be a lot harder, okay? You want your training to just be boom, 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 boom. You don't want to sit there and be second guessing yourself. And if you're not confident, you're not at a place where you understand the training laws, the principles to training, you really should have a coach to start to lay out programming for you. Once you get so much program thrown in front of you from different people maybe, or from seeing ebooks or from watching other people train for other things, you really start to get a better grasp of what training is. But the true expert won't be the person who tells you, I fully understand training. The true expert is a beginner. Every day they learn something from training, about training. And a lot of it is you're paying someone to be learning for you, right? Do you want to spend all the time studying and learning about training and buying ebooks and looking at other people's programming and watching every lifter on the internet? Or do you just want to lift and find somebody who aligns with you and can align with your goal and help you? And sometimes the best coaching I've had has been someone pulling me back and not having me go balls to the wall so much, right? With this balls to the wall mindset, you're gonna eventually have to go down. You might have gone up overall, but it's gonna go down eventually. It's just the way it works. There is no, everyone wants to just be freaking, the Mr. Tough Guy forever. And it's like this tough guy intensity, it'll only get you so far, and it'll create burnout. It really will. Part of training being enjoyable is not getting burnt out by your training. You're not getting sick by your training. Not getting physically sick from it. We want to be making gains long term. We want long-term progress. It's not about short-term progress. While the short-term progress is always very attractive to people, the longer the progress you can make, the stronger you're going to get. The people who are really the strongest in the leaderboards, who really put a dent, are 35, 40-year-olds. Stan Efferding, look at that guy. Was in his 40s. He was in his prime. Chris Duffin, 40s in his prime. That is when you're going to be your strongest. These people who blast to no end at 20 are a sizzle in the frying pan. And if you're blasting before then, I mean, you can't be doing that. If you really enjoy this, you want to be around to do it. It's about training to train. It's about competing to compete. You want to win, but you love it. You know, you don't want to just be done with it because you had to retire because you can't do it anymore, you know? And sure, there's different phases. Me personally, I'm competing in strongman. I was competing in powerlifting. I'm not going to do both at the same time. I can work on the other lifts while I'm working on the strongman lifts, but it's like my overhead press matters a lot more than my bench press matters to me right now because the overhead press is in the competition. I'm not benching in a competition. Now, look at Strongest Man on Earth. They have a squat event. It's not a single, it's not a 1 rep max on a squat, but it's a squat for reps. You see Thor right now pushing a squat, right, to crazy levels. You know, you can work on those other variables and other things at the same time, but sometimes you have to let other things take the back seat for a little bit. While I'm still making gains in the bench press, I'm not pushing that 1 RM. It doesn't fit into my training well. It doesn't make sense. Higher reps on bench, it does have a carryover, I feel, to overhead press and press strength. But 1 RMing really isn't. So if you're looking for coaching, if you're looking to get better, if you want someone to plan it out for you, be the student for you, go ahead and send me an email, right? mangabe1900@gmail.com. We can get you dialed in with programming, and that's how we do it. All right? Have a great day.